Alas, poor Uya, I knew him well. Hey everybody, it's me, Cyrus. This is Epically Geeky Gaming, and I've been using this Ouya for a long time now, several years now, to play my emulators when I want to do video capture and stuff like that, or when I want to play one of my classic consoles on the, flat panel 4K TV that I have. Other than that, I haven't had a whole lot of use for the Ouya. I'm not a big fan of the Ouya apps that are out there. There's a few that are fun, but for the most part, this has been an emulator box. Well, my problem with Ouya is that they really haven't updated this thing in 3 years. Yeah, so... yeah, it's not that great. The technology obviously is not getting any newer, and there's no OS updates and nothing like that. So really wanted something a little bit more powerful and something that was going to get updated a little bit more often. So I bought something. This is what I bought. This box here. It's not just a box. There's another box inside this box, and that box is made out of plastic and connects to my TV. What is this? Well, you may not be familiar with this sort of thing, but this is an Android TV box. Now, they're not that well known. Most people know about like the Amazon Fire TV, Google Play, Apple TV, things like that. But you can do an Android box also. The main advantage of doing it with the Android box is I already have Android apps that I can use on here with the Google Play Store. But you can get a lot better bang for your buck. This particular one is pretty powerful. It's got 8 cores. It has 3 gigabytes of RAM, 32 gig of internal storage, and it'll output at 4K. Runs Android 6.0, I believe, but I believe that can be updated. Yeah. So, pretty cool. So, first things first, we slide off the top. And, oh, look. It still lets us know it's a TV box, in case we weren't sure. So, TV box. Alright. I like the gold lettering. It's very nice. Alright. Got a little tab here. Oh, there we go. Fancy. Yeah. And then here's the device itself, which we'll set aside for a second. And packaging. It's like a little piece of paper broke off. It's like a miniature hat, like a pilgrim hat, or I don't know, something. Anyway, it's nothing. All right. AC adapter. Ooh, AC adapter. And HDMI, of course. Oh, nice little Ziploc baggie. I can reuse that for my stuff. Oh, and a remote control. Nice. Very nice. I like. Very nice. All right. And you go over there with the other box. Okay. Now, first off, let's take a look at this remote, because I'm curious to see. Okay, it's kind of lightweight. Feels pretty cheap. Takes AAA batteries, which I thankfully have. So, I'll be doing that. Not as refined as the Xbox One controller, which, as we all know, takes AA batteries. Ooh, pinky's up for that. So, let's look at the box. This giant friggin' box. And there it is. That's it. It's very small. SD card, USB 2. AV output, which will be interesting. I actually have ordered an AV cable, so I will try this on my CRT TV. HDMI, power supply, optical output. That's cool. Obviously Ethernet, and then another USB. So it's actually pretty good. So the main reason that I bought this T97ZPlus Android TV box was to play emulators. There's a lot of uses for it, obviously, and I really like the design of the actual system. I like how they illuminate the ports themselves too. It makes it really easy to see where you're plugging things in. This is a comparison to my Apple TV, and I just wanted to show you basically so you get an idea of the scale of the system, how big it is. It's very small. It's very, very small. It's like a hockey puck. Very not big at all. Very tiny. So here is a Super Nintendo, an off-market Super Nintendo controller with a USB adapter that I had, and actually hooked this up into the system. I have a wireless Super Nintendo controller, but I'll talk about that in a second. And this is interesting. I actually have a USB hub plugged into one of the USB ports with adapters for several different controllers, all plugged in simultaneously and all function at the same time. So this thing can support multiple controllers for multiple game systems, and they all work. The Super Nintendo one is my favorite, but the PlayStation controller works fine, and even the Nintendo 64 controller actually did work. I was very surprised. The Nintendo 64 emulator may not be the best, but the controller works. The system I want to show you here supports a variety of resolutions also, and it'll actually go to 4K. Of course, my capture card does not support 4K, so it tops out here at 1080p, but it will actually go all the way to 4K. I don't recommend that you set it to 4K if you're going to be playing emulators or video games or anything with this unit, though, because there's a tiny amount of input lag that I noticed whenever I display this thing at 4K. Not exactly sure why that happens, but at 1080p there is no input lag that I could notice. So I actually prefer to play at 1080p 60. So, and it looks fantastic. You know, my Ouya was really good for emulation, and you can actually do the volume internally, which is actually helpful, but that's what that slider bar was on the top. The Ouya was impressive, but it was only 720p. It wouldn't do any higher resolution than that. So you wouldn't think it would make that big of a difference, but it really does. The picture looks so much better at 1080p. And here we are playing Batman on the NES, and I do have the volume down. Sorry about that. It's for copyright stuff. It is what it is. But you can see the game runs very well. It runs very, very well. And it ran very well on my Ouya, but obviously it's running even better now. And here's Blaster Master. And yeah, it just looks great. It runs great. No issues. So Nintendo emulation is very good. I really do prefer the Android emulators over any emulators that I've played, whether they be for PC or otherwise. So yeah, I do think that the Android emulators that are out there are the best way to go. So it's really nice to have a box that I can use all of my Android emulators for and play it on the big TV. Now, Castlevania 3 is a game that typically has some issues if the emulator's not that great. So you'll see that it actually runs really perfectly. And what's great is, you can use any of those controllers that I was talking about. They're USB. Anything works great, they're USB. Anything that I threw at this, even the Xbox 360 controllers worked fine. They're USB. The problem is the Bluetooth stuff. Yeah, it does have Bluetooth, but I don't know, man. I can't figure out how to get the Bluetooth controllers to work properly. I've got an 8-bit DOE SNES 30, and of course I got the DualShock 4, and I can't get them to connect. I can't get them to work properly. So I've seen some people that have struggled with this also. Maybe it's a problem with Android. I really don't know. Android 6.0. So I'm going to keep tinkering with it. And if I am able to get the wireless controllers operational, I'll definitely let you know. But so far, not happening. Not having very much luck with that. But I'm very happy with the USB controllers that I have. And I'm getting extremely good results with, like I said, basically, I'm not detecting any input lag, no matter which controller I use. And I have tested several. Like I've tested the Super Nintendo, the PlayStation, the Nintendo 64. I tested the PlayStation arcade stick. So I've tested a pretty good variety, and the Xbox 360 control. Plus, I have a 6-button like Xbox 360 fighting pad that I tried, and it worked too. It worked fine. So far that's working out very good. One thing that I did try that another thing I couldn't get to work was the AV output, the supposed composite output. I bought a special cable just for that, and it didn't work. So I tried a different type of cable, and it didn't work either. So really not sure what kind of 3.5-inch style video cable I'm gonna need. I really don't know, because everything I've tried so far hasn't worked. So I'll keep tinkering with that. Now, if you notice any problems with the animation or flickering or any problems like that, that's just a product of this being captured at 60 frames per second and rendered out at 30 frames per second. So that has nothing to do with the system or the emulation or anything like that. It's just a YouTube thing. I could have rendered this entire project out at 60 frames per second, but it would have caused me some other issues. So it's just a technical thing on my end. That's not reflective of the quality of this box or the emulators or anything like that. So I just wanted to address that. Trust me, F-Zero looks fantastic. It looks great. It looks immaculate. Everything looked great. One of my big concerns about Super Nintendo emulation is the fine details, because especially like for Castlevania 4 has some strange artifacting that usually appears in the opening scrolling title screen. Super Castlevania 4 on Super Nintendo is what I'm talking about. And I didn't see that. So I was very, very happy to not see that. In fact, the picture just looks amazing. It looks great. You can see it plays great. No major issues that I have been able to detect as far as how the emulation works or how it looks or anything like that. And here we are looking at Star Fox, so you can see even the Super FX games are working, and they're working great. So the emulators are good. The emulators are fine. It's SNES 9X, so it's gonna be good. I mean, that emulator's been around for a really, really long time. So the version of it that's running here on Android is obviously kicking ass. Even Mega Man X2 here, you can see everything's working fine. No problems with those special chips as far as emulation is concerned, which is good because Mega Man X2 is awesome. It's a great game. One of the cool things about these emulators is you can actually set them to render out full screen, not at 4:3, and then set your TV manually to readjust the aspect ratio to 4:3 if you have that option on your TV, which most TVs do. But the reason you might want to do that is if you render a game out at full screen and then condense it down using the TV's stretching, the TV's upscaling, then you get the full resolution of 1080p, which if you're using the Android box to create the 4:3 mode like I'm doing here to capture this, then you actually are losing some of the resolution because some of it is actually being Just these, it's being rendered out as black bars on either side of the screen. So if you can, and you're only interested in just playing these games on your TV, I actually do recommend that the input that you use for this thing, or whatever emulator box you're using, go ahead and render it out full screen, and then use your TV to condense it, because you'll get better quality. It'll surprise you how much better it looks. I actually prefer to do that, but for capturing purposes, it's, you know, I'm showing you what it looks like if you render it out at 4:3, which you can do either one. Now this is Android, okay? So all of the Android stuff is still there. I'm just not using it, obviously. You know, Android has the on-screen touchscreen controls and all that kind of stuff, and you have to disable all that stuff, otherwise it does appear on the screen. But you just turn it off and then set your controls to map to whatever controller you plug into this thing. And when you do plug these controllers in, it takes maybe a couple seconds for it to recognize it, depending on which controller it is, but no problems. I mean, you don't have to set anything up. There's no drivers or nothing like that. And one thing I will caution you about, for the Nintendo 64, if you use the N64 controller adapters that will adapt that to USB, use a high quality N64 controller, because the lower quality off-brand N64 controllers, they're not that good. They'll create some strange problems with this, the analog controller that's on those will just basically glitch and cause issues because it's not centering 100%. So trust me, use a real N64 controller if you can. All right. Now, obviously you can see here the TurboGrafx stuff looks good. It actually also does support the TurboGrafx CD ISOs. So you can do Super CD games, TurboGrafx, all that kind of stuff. You can even do arcade card stuff. So really good for TurboGrafx. The Android PCEMU emulator is the best emulator that I've ever used for TurboGrafx. So highly recommend that. The Neo Geo emulator is not perfect. Some of the games, some of the high level games, some of the high, like the last run games that were really coming out towards the end of Neo Geo's cycle, they don't work that well. The system just doesn't emulate them properly, like Capcom versus SNK and stuff like that. Or, you know, SNK versus Capcom, I guess, is the one on Neo Geo. Doesn't work. And Samurai Showdown 5 didn't work, but 4 worked. And I had some problems with Metal Slug 5. So it might be just a simple matter of me finding a better ROM, but I kind of doubt it on some of these games. I think the emulator may just not want to work. But generally, if the game works, it works perfectly. It works great. And you can see here, Samurai Showdown 4 looks amazing. It looks really, really good. So this is an awesome way to play your Neo Geo games. Now, there are at least two that I know of, versions of MAME that you can get for Android, and they don't support all of the same games that you can do on computer, but they do a lot. They do the equivalent of what you would probably get on like a Raspberry Pi. So yeah, you can do all kinds of arcade games through MAME. And I didn't really do too much as far as I'm not going to go into that too much here, but yeah, there's a couple different MAMEs that you could try. You can see them there on my list, depending on which ROMs you have, and you can try them. PlayStation emulation, like I said, the PS1 controller with a USB adapter works great, and if you're looking for just a recreation of PlayStation, it'll do it great. It'll do amazing. Now, if you start messing around with the upscaling options or the higher resolution stuff with like OpenGL or whatever, then it might be a little bit different story. But you can see here clearly the PlayStation is running very well. And now here's that N64 stuff. I'm not going to show you a whole lot, just kind of jump around here for a couple games. but it's not the best. N64 emulation is just not. I don't like it. I don't like N64 emulation that much. Yeah, it runs and it does support the N64 controller, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, the emulators aren't perfect, and you have to switch around to different plugins depending on which game you're playing, because some games just don't like the same plugins for video output. So yeah, it could be kind of annoying. It's not going to be a plug and play experience, and you're going to have missing textures sometimes. You're going to have weird graphic issues. You're going to have strange things that come up. The frame rate here is a little slow. It's not quite up to N64. So again, you can do this. There's certain N64 games that work better. Some of them work really well, and some of them not so much. Personally, I prefer a real N64, and I have another video that's coming where I'm going to show you some really cool options for how you can play N64 games on your TV and get a really good experience out of it, and go into more detail. Emulation's cool, but I prefer the original hardware. But if really this is your only option, then I think you can still have an enjoyable experience playing a lot of N64 games. I'm not going to say all of them, but I think if you work with it a little bit, and it's going to be the same on Raspberry Pi, you're going to have basically the same types of problems and workarounds that you're going to have to do. But I think you can still have fun. PlayStation Portable emulation is really good. And if you tinker with it and tweak it a little bit, you can get some really great results playing PlayStation Portable games on your TV. And those games hold up well. They actually look really good on a bigger screen. And like I said, my primary focus here is playing these retro consoles and older systems. That's mainly what my focus was. But if you are interested, you can use this Android TV box for a number of different things, including playing Android games. And I did have some trouble figuring out exactly how you can do key bindings to set up key bindings to the touchscreen stuff. But I'm sure there's a way to do it. I just haven't had a lot of time to tinker with it. But lots of apps also available for Android, including YouTube and various different things. Media players, so you can actually watch 4K movies streamed from your computer and things like that. So I think it's a really great box, a really great value, and really good quality. Yeah, there are a couple things that I would like to fix, like the Bluetooth and the video output, but other than that, it's not bad. So those are basically some of my thoughts about the T95ZPlus 3GB 32 gig internal storage model. But for more videos like this, be sure to keep checking back here at Epically Geeky Gaming. I'm Cyrus, and I'll catch y'all next time.